Sometimes, horror movies don't crawl out of the shadows. They crawl out of the past. 20 years after Silent Hill 2006 first stumbled in the theaters, director Christophe Gans has returned to the fog-drenched town that made him famous, or infamous depending on who you ask. His new film, Return to Silent Hill, promises a faithful adaptation of one of the most beloved psychological horror games of all time, Silent Hill 2. On paper, that sounds like a dream come true. In reality, it's a warning sign, because Silent Hill 2 isn't just a game. It's a landmark of emotional horror, a deeply personal story about guilt, grief, repression, and self-loathing. And trying to squeeze that experience into a 100-minute movie was always going to be dangerous. What we get instead is a film that looks like Silent Hill, sounds like Silent Hill, and pretends to understand Silent Hill, but ultimately misses its soul entirely. This isn't the worst video game movie ever made, but it might be one of the most disappointing. There's something strangely poetic about Christophe Gans returning to Silent Hill after 2 decades. The first film became a cult hit, not because it was great, but because it felt authentic. The visuals were striking, the atmosphere was thick, and for 2006, it did something few game adaptations could. It tried, but Gans never truly escaped Silent Hill, and now neither has his filmmaking. Return to Silent Hill feels like a director stuck in the same loop as his protagonist, wandering familiar streets, convinced there's something meaningful waiting just around the corner, even when all signs say otherwise. The movie follows James Sunderland, played by Jeremy Irvine, a grieving man haunted by the loss of his wife, Mary, who died years earlier. One day, James receives a letter. It's from Mary. She tells him to return to their special place. That place, of course, is Silent Hill. This setup is lifted almost directly from the game. But here's the problem. The film treats it like a plot device, not an emotional wound. In the game, the letter is devastating. In the movie, it's just convenient. James heads to Silent Hill, finds the road blocked, shrugs, and keeps going. When the town appears abandoned, covered in ash, filled with monsters, and described by a vomiting stranger as one big cemetery, James barely reacts. This is supposed to show obsession. Instead, it shows apathy. One of the biggest failures of Return to Silent Hill is James himself. James Sunderland is not supposed to be brave. He's not supposed to be heroic. He's supposed to be broken. In the game, every step James takes feels heavy. Every monster reflects a piece of his guilt. His fear isn't loud, it's suffocating. In the movie, James wanders. He stumbles from location to location, reacting more like a confused tourist than a man unraveling under the weight of unbearable guilt. Even when confronted with horrors, his emotional range rarely extends beyond shouting someone's name and running down another hallway. The film wants us to believe James is deeply obsessed with Mary, but it never earns that belief. One of the most controversial choices in the film is casting Hannah Emily Anderson as both Mary and Angela. On paper, this could have been brilliant. In practice, it's disastrous. In the game, Angela is a deeply tragic figure, a survivor of abuse, trapped in her own personalized hell. Her story is separate from James's, but thematically connected. The movie erases that distinction. Angela is reduced to a generic, mentally unstable townsperson, while her trauma is awkwardly grafted onto Mary's backstory. The result is a muddled, tasteless rewrite that strips both characters of their power. What was once subtle psychological horror becomes clumsy shock storytelling. Much of the film relies on flashbacks showing James and Mary's relationship. These scenes are meant to deepen the story. Instead, they actively sabotage it. The movie tries to make James more morally ambiguous and Mary more complex, but in doing so, it rewrites a critical reveal from the game in a way that makes the symbolism meaningless. Worse, many of the characters and ideas introduced in these flashbacks are simply abandoned by the end of the film. They don't matter. And that's unforgivable in a story built entirely on emotional consequence.
Yes, the movie looks like Silent Hill. Ash falls from the sky, rust eats away at the buildings. The fog rolls in thick and heavy. But look closer. The green screen work is painfully obvious. Characters stand against artificial backdrops that drain the town of its physical presence. Compared to the Silent Hill 2 remake 2024, which looks richer, darker, and more cohesive, the movie feels cheap. Even worse, the film never establishes a real-world baseline. Everything feels dreamlike from the start, which kills tension. Horror needs contrast. Without it, fear becomes noise. Pyramid Head returns. The nurses return. They look great because they always do. But here's the truth. They're just decoration. In the game, every monster represents James' inner torment. In the movie, they're obstacles. They chase, they snarl, they disappear. No meaning, no symbolism, just fan service. If there's one undeniable triumph in this film, it's the music. Akira Yamaoka, the legendary composer of the Silent Hill series, returns with a score that is haunting, mournful, and beautiful. The music deserves a better movie. It carries emotional weight that the screenplay simply does not. What happens at the end? By the end of Return to Silent Hill, James finally confronts the truth about Mary, but not in the way fans expect. Instead of a quiet, devastating realization rooted in guilt and repression, the film reframes the truth around cult influence, manipulation, and external forces. In other words, James' guilt is softened, his responsibility is diluted. Silent Hill becomes something that happened to him rather than something created by his mind. Why this breaks Silent Hill? Silent Hill 2 is powerful because the horror comes from within. The town doesn't punish James. James punishes himself. By changing this core idea, the film turns psychological horror into generic tragedy. The monsters lose meaning. The symbolism collapses. The story becomes just another haunted town narrative. And that's the ultimate betrayal. Silent Hill 2 works because it's interactive. You walk, you hesitate, you question yourself. Remove that interactivity, and you remove the story's soul. The movie replaces introspection with exposition, ambiguity with explanation, and emotional discovery with plot shortcuts. What remains is a shadow of greatness. Return to Silent Hill isn't unwatchable. It's atmospheric, it's competently directed, it's occasionally haunting, but it is also misguided, emotionally shallow, and creatively timid. It proves one painful truth. Some stories don't need to be retold. They need to be left alone. If you want a truly unforgettable psychological horror experience, don't watch this movie. Play Silent Hill 2. Christophe Gans returned to Silent Hill believing there was still something meaningful waiting in the fog. But Silent Hill isn't a place you revisit for answers. It's a place that exists only when you're brave enough to confront what's inside you. And Return to Silent Hill never truly does. The fog clears, the credits roll, and all that's left is silence.